so good in Foxborough. The Eagles and the Patriots will have joint practices today and tomorrow, culminating in a preseason game on Saturday evening. And the storyline, the main event, of course, A.J. Brown against his former team, the one who traded him in June after 4 prosperous but ultimately tumultuous seasons together. So let's bring in the man who knows all, Sal Paolantonio, live in Foxborough. Sal, you are our eyes and ears on the ground watching A.J. Brown against his former team. What are you hearing from the Eagles side of this?
And, you know, Michael, you got it right. This is the main event of the joint practices. Philadelphia Eagles visiting Foxborough, reuniting with A.J. Brown and the New England Patriots. And what I'm hearing from the Philadelphia Eagles is, let's focus on us. We have enough going on. When I was with the Eagles, when they opened training camp in South Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni told me about his first meeting with the team. He took out a book, and the title of that book was Chop, Wood, Carry, Water. And he wanted his team to align themselves with each other after all of the emotions of last year. Don't worry about all of that stuff. And Jalen Hurts this week, Michael, said it's about competition against a very good football team. And you know they will be competing hard against A.J. Brown. All eyes will be on number 27 out of the University of Toledo, Quinyon Mitchell, first-team All-Pro. He does a lot of talking on the field, as we know from a guy on that set. Those guys from Toledo, they're quiet off the field, but when they get on the field, they like to trash talk. They like to get after it, and they like to get after each other. So you will see Quinyon Mitchell one-on-one with A.J. Brown today on the practice field, Michael.
All right, stay with me, Sal, because I want to come back to that. I do think it's interesting that Nick Sirianni is recommending a book. I guarantee you A.J. Brown will read it, maybe
would carry water,
potentially during the game. But talk to me about this a little bit here.
Yeah.
You've got the A.J. Brown, like, we're going to make a very big deal of this.
Yeah.
Is this a big deal to him? This isn't a game. Even the preseason game isn't a game that obviously means anything. So is this a big deal to those on the inside?
You know, to the player, yeah, it is a big deal. Look, players are very prideful. I mean, there's obviously a lot of connection going on right here, right? And the way AJ exited Philadelphia, how Philadelphia feels as though, you know, they're kind of turning the page and really trying to evolve this offense away from him, new offensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts in the spotlight. There's a lot going on here. There is a lot going on here. I think it's going to be important, though, for the players and for the coaches to really keep this about football and make sure they get their work done. Look, I think in the beginning, there's probably likely to be some fireworks, some extra trash talk, and maybe a cheap, maybe a punch or two thrown. They need to get away from that and get back to the football. But there's no doubt the emotions will be high. You can't get away from it.
Fundamentally, one of the reasons you have these controlled scrimmages is you want to see good against good. You want A.J. Brown to get good work against Quinyon Mitchell. That's really one of the benefits of having these practices. With that said, to Lou's point, like, not all practices are created equal. There's no doubt that there'll be a little bit extra in terms of, hey, A.J. Brown, look, Mike Vrabel believed in me. They gave a first-round pick, and I'm a difference maker. One thing that's interesting to me, guys, is if we think about the receiver position as a basketball team, A.J. Brown's their power forward center. He went up the road. My fundamental question for this Eagle team is, who is replacing him?
Yeah.
Who's doing the heavy lifting going across the middle for the Eagles?
Well, let's go back to Sal on that, because, Sal, you and I exchanged a couple notes last night, and I thought you had very interesting insight. We've talked a good deal here over the course of the summer about another new offense for the Eagles, another new offensive coordinator, another new play caller, another new system for Jalen Hurts to run. I thought you had really interesting insight. How has that looked as we approach the start of the season?
Well, Sean Mannion's offense is straight out of the permutations of the West Coast offense. So you're going to see a lot of pre-snap motion. You're going to see a lot of outside zone read. You want Jalen Hurts to be under center and play action pass, and you want him to throw over the middle. But as you mentioned, Greeny, this is the 11th different offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts, 11th different play caller going back to college. And now you're asking him to do something that's completely different from last year. And to me, it's like asking Miles Davis to play the violin. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? This guy has already been a virtuoso in his previous offense. He went to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, was Super Bowl MVP. He already recorded kind of blue. He's already done it. He doesn't have to reinvent himself. And I think the Eagles are finding that out. You hear things about what's going on behind the scenes, and they clearly want Jalen Hurts' input into this offense to make sure that it works going forward.
So I don't know if he's ready for the start of the season. I know Sal definitely is in mid-season form. Sal, thank you very much. We're going to get Andrew Hawkins in a little bit as well here. We're having a little trouble with his technically, but I am interested in this because it is another new offense, but this one really does seem to be different, and it does seem to feature a lot of the things that people have said, and look, I'm not expert enough to be able to judge it one way or another. People have said are not Jalen Hurts' strong suit, and some wonder, and we'll get to that in a minute, whether they have the personnel for it. What do you think of Jalen Hurts running this offense?
Look, I do believe that Jalen can, I don't necessarily want to say major in being under center and consistently playing that way, but he has shown flashes in the past as recently as last year of being able to execute this kind of offense at a very, very high level. Look, here it is. You're going to see it here on 1st and 10. Him execute a 7-step drop, double hitch, and throw the football with pressure in his face to Devontae Smith. Guess where? In the middle of the field. Here you're going to see him here. Quick 5-step drop, hit that back foot, hit Devontae Smith on an in-breaker, going across the field on time, in rhythm, and guess where it was? In the middle of the field. Pre-snap motion, under center. I believe this is a 2nd down play, 7-step drop, double hitch, step up in the pocket, throw it over the middle to A.J. Brown. You see the separation between the 2nd and 3rd level. Those are all the kind of things you're going to see in this offense.
Right.
You turn on Green Bay's tape in 2025, that's what Jordan loves doing. I didn't even put in there some of the bootleg type action, getting him out on the perimeter, cut the field in half, have 3-level reads, nice simple throws. He can do all that stuff. But I think what the thing is that you don't want to take away from him is his dual threat capability, his ability to actually really affect the game with his legs, not just in the red area, but in the field overall. Do you want to major in it? No. Would you like him to major being in the pocket, really executing the play action passing game from under center? Yeah. He's showing you he can do it. I don't know. Look, I know there's going to be some statistics that maybe say he's not that good of a thrower in the middle of the field. But as Bill Walsh has said, if he shows me he can do it like that, then it's up to us to kind of pull it out of him so he can do it more consistently because he has shown he can do that.
What's your concern?
My concern is, again, what I said earlier, A.J. Brown at 230 pounds, one across the middle consistently. Lou just showed us a couple of flashes of what Devontae Smith can do, but he's 170 pounds. Somebody has to do that consistently and deal with the rigors of a 17-game season. Maybe it's Eli Stowers who they drafted. Mekhi Lemon showed you some of that at USC. He's been a little banged up. I'm sure he'll be okay, Greeny. But to me, like when you look at the way they are built, that would be the concern about occupying the middle of the field. Lou makes a great point. Like if you think about that Green Bay offense, they had a lot of guys that can do that. The only grade I would give Philadelphia right now is a grade of incomplete. I'm not saying they can't, but there's a lot of question marks about how this team's been built.
And you know what? Look, I think sometimes when we kind of latch on to certain things and certain narratives about players, like you don't just have to attack the middle of the you can attack outside the numbers. The running game is going to be something that's going to be improved in Philadelphia simply because of the fact that you would assume that this offensive line is going to be much healthier this year than it was a year ago. Jalen Hurts is not going to have to live under center 100% of the time. I think but the way in which they want to evolve this offense, which they think is going to take it to another level, I totally understand. I just don't think we're being fair to Jalen Hurts in whether or not he can do this in the way Sean Mannion wants it done.
Sal, give me a quick final word.
Well, I think the key is the offensive line is healthy this year. Last year, it was not. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson had major injury issues that took them off the field. They both went to Europe and got some treatment. They're both feeling much better. Lane Johnson missed 10 games with a Liz Frank. He's back on the field. And the math is simple about Lane Johnson, Greeny. When he's on the field at right tackle, the Eagles win 66% of their games. When he's off the field, they lose 66% of their games. So he's got a healthy offensive line. They are getting this offense so it is acclimated to Jalen Hurts' abilities. Lewis is right. Use some of what Jalen Hurts can do and let him adapt to the future.
All right, Sal, we'll be watching you all day long.